In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. Sometimes Karma is a BH. This is my first ever Reddit post, so bear with me. When I graduated high school, I joined the army, figured I'd run off and have an adventure, or something like that. I had to have my parents sign since I wasn't actually 18 at the time, but I really liked being in the military. Honestly, it was the first thing I was ever really good at. Anyways, I cycled through girls and deployments for a few years before I finally decided to leave and go to university. I ended up moving to Rome, Italy, where I studied full-time. I met my ex, who I'll call T, on my first day of orientation at my new university. We didn't immediately start dating. I was trying to shake off the last bad breakup and get the college experience that I sort of felt like I had missed out on. About 6 months later, we started dating, and from day one, things went great. She was a year ahead of me in school and graduated before I did. I spent a year studying abroad without her, in which time I met tons of people and made lots of friends. I never cheated, despite having countless opportunities to do so. The major takeaway from all of this was that I had time away from her where I sort of started to miss military life. She graduated and moved to Washington, D.C., where she had a job offer. I found a way to transfer without losing credits to American University, also in D.C. Sure, in a way I did it to be with her, but I had also made up my mind that I wanted to go back to the military, even if only in a limited capacity. I decided to go to psychological operations mostly because it was complex, but still involved a tactical element, which was what I liked, being in stacked infantryman. The nature of being Army Reserve means that you aren't always working with the cream of the crop, but when deployments come down, they aren't hard to get. I managed to get a spot on the deployment, which I was elated by. I talked to T about it, and she really seemed to understand what I was doing and why. We were both international relations majors, and this 100% played into bolstering my resume for when I graduated. At this point, T had been working for her company for about 7 months. Overall, we had been together for about 3 years when the decision was made. At this time, I knew all of her work friends. Most of them were my friends too. I got another semester of university on the board while in train-up for deployment. All the while, we never doubted this relationship would be fine. We lived together, shared everything, and everything seemed like we would go the distance. I had to have my exam schedule changed so that I could finish the semester, since I left for deployment a week before the end of classes. If you're wondering, a DOD memorandum and a word with the Dean of Students goes a long way. I missed my graduation too, but honestly I didn't care. I probably wouldn't have gone anyway. So I deployed, and I'll spare you the details, but a few weeks after I leave, summer starts and T starts going on weekend beach trips with her work colleagues. I didn't mind. I was glad that she was still able to have fun while I was away. I didn't really think anything of it since I knew everyone she was going with, and I thought of most of them as friends. A couple of months pass and I am working pretty much around the clock, staying busy but talking to her every day, video calling every Sunday when I had downtime. Maybe if I had been less invested in what was going on with my deployment, I would have seen it coming. But it went from one day everything was fine to the following day being completely ghosted. A day or two went by in between telling myself not to worry about it, and not always having internet connection, I wasn't too worried. I was running the tactical team, and after a long serious conversation that ended with "go put your kit on and call someone who gives a shit," I went back to my room to grab my gear, send a message saying I'd be gone for a couple of days. Instead, I found a long breakup email. The email was kind of all over the place, ranging from everything from our differences in political ideologies to accusations of me cheating on her and several other things. Quite frankly, I didn't have time to deal with that, so I just responded something short like, "Okay, I understand." It wasn't that I didn't subscribe emotion to it, I just didn't have the luxury of being able to be distracted in that moment. T responds by video calling me, crying and trying to have a conversation. I've deployed enough to know that going on a mission you have to have your game face on, especially when you're leading. Basically, I tell her that I really can't talk because I have to go, but she's not getting it, until I'm putting on my plate carrier and telling her that I have to go. When I got back from the mission, T had already blocked me on social media. I texted a couple of my really close friends about it who were back home, doing everything I could to keep it all under the surface. Truthfully, I was devastated. I felt like I was coming undone at the seams, but I didn't want anyone to know. I was worried that if anyone found out, I might get pulled off of missions and relieved of my position, which I felt was the only thing I had left. I had lost my girlfriend of 3.5 years, my apartment in D.C., and likely most of our friends. I suffered silently for the remainder of the deployment. In that time, one of my friends took it on herself to snoop and discovered that from the beginning of my deployment, T had been hooking up with one of her colleagues. VV had a reputation for having a long-distance relationship but cheating on his girlfriend every chance he got. This wasn't a secret, it was the subject of brunch conversations and water cooler chatter. When the deployment ended, I took a vacation for some personal time and traveled. I spent a month traveling through Japan and another through Southeast Asia, mostly to clear my head. Thanks to connections from my recent deployment, my previous experience, my degree, and an extremely expensive security clearance I had gotten because of the deployment, I was offered a great job making far more than I had ever expected to make out of school. The best part was that the firm that hired me offered me a position in Brisbane, Australia, the furthest place possible from Washington, D.C. This would be the end of the story, but COVID changed a lot of things. Right around the time COVID hit, I got promoted and I've been working remotely, traveling around Asia like some sort of working vacation for the last 8 months. My life has been far better as a result of the breakup. T, on the other hand, can't say the same. I stayed in touch with a few old friends from D.C. Apparently V cheated on T regularly enough that it was common knowledge, but she didn't leave him because they were in love. V eventually broke up with T, and T left the company because of it. Now T has a non-compete and can't find a job thanks to the recession. V got fired when all of his indiscretions came to light with the upper management and is in the same boat. Almost 2.5 years has passed since we broke up, and while I just found out about this a couple of weeks ago, I do get a petty sense of satisfaction out of it. TLDR, my ex cheated on me while I was deployed and then broke things off. The guy she cheated with and left me for eventually cheated on her, then dumped her. Now she's single and unemployed. Story 2. She sexted for 2 years. I have been with my wife for 14 years, married for 5. She's amazing, annoying sometimes, but all minor. She's an amazing stepmom to my daughter, who's 14 and needs a strong female role model. She always said I was the best and I spoiled her. Our sex life was fantastic. At least 3 to 4 times a week, minimum. Sometimes 2 to 3 times a night. We talked about having a threesome with another woman before and got real close once, but she decided she couldn't handle it emotionally. That was about 2 years ago. I never looked back. At least 3 of her friends have had physical, extramarital affairs. I always joked that they would convince her to do it, or that since they did it, so she might think it's okay. She always assured me she wouldn't, she could never. She always kept her phone in her pillowcase so she could hear her alarms. I never really had a need to snoop. But on this morning, he was just out and on the bed. So I looked. No weird texts. I accidentally took a screenshot. So I went into her pictures to delete it. I was embarrassed for being nosy. I went into the deleted file to double delete it. And there were some nudes in there, nudes I have never seen. I went back into her main picture file and started to scroll up. There were a bunch of nudes I have never seen. Hundreds of pictures, and I only got back to April of this year. And they were everywhere, at the house, in the car, at her job, in public restrooms, using all the toys that me and her had used together. And I found one of her tits with another man's name written on them. It said blank slut. I sent that picture to my phone. I quit smoking 6 months ago. I called into work and drove to the gas station for cigarettes. She woke up and called me. I told her to call and so we could talk. She asked why, and I said we need to talk about this guy. She was in the front yard when I got home. We stayed there to avoid waking up my daughter. She told me she met him 2 years ago. He said she was pretty and he gave her his number. The pictures and sexting started immediately. She says she never met him in person again, and I believe her. She says none of her friends know about it, and I believe that too. I'm so hurt. How could she do this? I pay the mortgage, both car payments, the phone bill. I want to leave her with nowhere to go, no way to get there, and no way to call for help. I feel like the life we've been building means nothing. I'm bouncing wildly from angry to distraught. Every memory from the last 2 years has been tainted. She said she couldn't lose me, that it was a mistake. She couldn't give me a reason why she did it either. I told her I want to FK her best friend in front of her as revenge, and she agreed. This chick has wanted to be with me for a while and never hit it. So I knew she'd agree, but I mostly said I wanted to hurt my wife and get even. I don't even know if I want to actually do it. This was all 2 days ago, and she keeps pushing to start marriage counseling. I don't know if I want to stay yet. I feel like she would still be talking to him today if I didn't find out. And she wants to start counseling now. I need to process. The only things keeping me around currently are her abilities as a stepmom. I believe that she never met him physically, and I believe none of her friends know. If any of those are compromised, it's over. I can't talk to anyone about this. I'm so embarrassed. I feel so stupid. All the times she said she preferred to work at the office. All the times I thought she was playing stupid games on her phone. Anytime she went to the restroom in public while we were out together, it's all running through my head. All the times we joked about her friends being cheating whores, and she assured me she wasn't like that. Right now, I want fix it. But there's a few things I think I need. I don't think I want to have sex with her friend. Thinking about it, that's really fucked up. I want to have sex with somebody, so I feel like I got more than even, turn this into a net positive, and know that if we stay together, it's because I want her, not need her. If we don't stay together, I feel like I can never trust another woman, like she ruined me. Either way, I'm damaged goods. I really don't know what I want or need. My head is going crazy, I can't eat or sleep. I can't tell anybody because of the embarrassment. I just want advice, comfort, anything. I'm sorry if this format is wrong, or if this is the wrong place for this sort of thing. I just wanted to talk to somebody. What do I do? How do I go on? Story 3. Can I ever move past knowing that my wife used her vagina to pay for a friendship 10+ years ago? I've been married to my wife for 10 years. I recently found out that she had cheated on me a couple years before we were married. We were living together at the time and were going through a rough make or break type of time period in our relationship. She accused me of a lot of things that I was not doing, which made me angry and we fought a lot. I wasn't the nicest guy, but I was honestly faithful to her. Just felt smothered and annoyed. All of her friends at work would tell her that I was cheating on her, based on things she would find while snooping through my phone and emails. I did flirt with girls, women, but never actually went through with any physical activities. During this time period, she started making an effort to hang out with people from work because she says that she felt isolated. She started hanging around with one male co-worker in particular that always made me suspicious. But he wasn't very attractive and was a dork, so I didn't view him as much of a real threat. Still, I had always suspected something could have happened based on purely circumstantial evidence and intuition. I even offered her the opportunity to confess shortly after my suspicions arose. She told me that they only kissed once, and I accepted that, moved on from it. We got engaged a year later and married a year after that. Things started going well. We bought a house together, have since had 2 healthy children, and I make enough to where we can comfortably live off of one income while she stays at home and takes care of the kids. Everything in the last 10 years has mostly been good. We were genuinely happy. All of this happiness and closeness resulted in us becoming even more honest and open with one another. So, about a month ago, she decided to confess that she made regular trips to the apartment of a guy to engage in sexual intercourse. This went on for about 3 months, and her justification is that she wanted to have people to hang out with and that's what really mattered. Not the sex. He would let her tag along at bars with his friends and stuff, but every once in a while she would drive to his apartment with the intention of showering, and then coming home to me. So she basically was paying for this guy's friendship with her PY at the time. For about 3 months. This makes me view her in such a different light that I get physically ill when I look at her now. I can't really remember how I actually felt about her a month ago before I knew about this. I only know I felt that way because I remember myself thinking about how happy I was. I see a pathetic, scheming, cold-hearted piece of ST now where my wife once stood. It seems so completely out of her character to have engaged in something like this that it makes me question everything that has occurred since then. It really feels like it's something I'll never get over, even though it happened so long ago. It is just too surreal and shocking to not affect the way I view her character. On top of all of that, she continuously feels the need to justify what she did by explaining how unhappy she was and how she needed the attention for validation. For the last 12 years, she has repeatedly told me that she has only had sex with 2 men. One guy before me and then myself. I don't really care how many men she has slept with, but the fact that I'm finding out about a 3rd one makes me wonder when I'll find out about the 50th. I can't believe anything she's told me since 2009. All I see now are images of the 2 of them having sex with each other. I see her driving from work to his house, rushing to get there and get started on the DK time so that she wouldn't leave too late and get home too late. It plays over and over in my head, especially the image of her spreading her legs for him for the 2nd time. The last chance she had to stop herself and just having made a one-time mistake. The pain from seeing the images hurts so much that I have seriously considered deleting myself. I have 2 children, and that is mainly what keeps me from actually doing it. Otherwise, I know I would. I know it seems like a stupid reason to delete myself, especially since it happened so long ago, but I really feel like boiling oil is pumping through my veins. I am in constant physical pain and have trouble focusing on anything at all. I get dizzy, I see spots, my limbs get numb. I'm all messed up. She isn't a complete sociopath, so she obviously feels bad about it. She says all of the same things people say when something like this is revealed. I was a different person back then. I was not thinking clearly, it felt justified at the time, etc., etc. But anytime we talk about it, she gets defensive and turns it around on me. Makes sure that I know that I pushed her towards it. It says stupid things like it didn't happen that often because he lived kind of far away, and I had time constraints, as if that is supposed to make me feel some relief. She also likes to say he was a loser and a BH with a small DK, and I'm expected to feel better knowing that. She doesn't seem to have genuine remorse for the actions that she took. She seems to be more regretful that she didn't take this secret to the grave with her. I don't think there's a way to get back to the level of respect, admiration, and love that I had for this woman. I know it's not possible, especially since I never got the chance to choose whether I wanted to marry her if I knew what she had done. But does anyone have any suggestions as to how I can legitimately move on from this sick feeling and stop seeing these images repeatedly playing out in my mind's theater? It's killing me. I need to know some tricks from someone who has dealt with something similar. I really feel like my body is going to shut down at some point. I can literally feel and hear my heart banging around in my chest.